Good evening, everyone. This is former Constable Stephen Wiggs, and I'm coming to you guys with some very, very important information that is highly necessary to hear. Currently, at this point in time, my agency, in the past and current, has been under attack due to people using their positions of leadership as a tool to give off bad information about the Pennsylvania State Constabulary. What kind of bad information they're giving is the question. They are giving off information to the citizens as well as their officers that constables in Pennsylvania have no authority whatsoever. And that's just the furthest from the truth. I am a living testimony to the idea of the Pennsylvania State Constable having, in fact, the authority to make arrests, detainments, and more. I directly have worked with multiple agencies in making these arrests. One I've worked with, I can give you, is the Allentown Police Department. Okay? On a few occasions, quite a few occasions. Now, understand, my state training system, the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency, has given off bad information to constables and deputy constables, telling them that the only way they could make an on-view warrantless arrest is for them to have court documents in their hands. That is a bona fide lie. A bona fide 100% lie. They told me that in my last training, and I just ignored it because I knew what I did in the field versus what these people are trying to push off on the constabulary in Pennsylvania. It is utterly ridiculous, and it puts everyone in danger. Not just the constable, but also the citizens. Because what this does is it gives the citizens an idea that constables aren't police officers. Constables aren't peace officers. Constables aren't law enforcement in Pennsylvania. That's what they're giving off when in fact, the Pennsylvania State Troopers' original name and beginning title is in fact the Pennsylvania State Constabulary. I've said this in a few posts. The Pennsylvania State Troopers is an extension of the Pennsylvania State Constabulary. That is just their history. just because they switched titles did not mean the Pennsylvania State Constabulary no longer had authority to do exactly what the troopers were doing from 1905 to 1937. 1905 to 1937. The powers of the Pennsylvania State Constabulary did not die when the troopers started calling themselves another name. Yeah. The laws actually say from the General Assembly that the troopers' powers and prerogatives are derived from the position of constable. And it's true. It says it in their own history. It's in their own history. But these people are lying to not just constables. The state is not just lying to constables, but they're lying to the people. I actually spoke to one of the representatives some time ago. And this is the most wicked. I can't give you his name. I'm not going to give names in such a way, but don't take this lightly. One of the heads of our training told me, after I said to him, law enforcement, other law enforcement agencies and citizens are vested with the notion that the constables can't arrest for vagrancies, breaches of the peace, and everything like that. People have this idea that constables are not police officers and law enforcement officers and peace officers. You know, and I told him that they're thinking this way because of PCCD, because of the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency. This is the state training system that the constables get trained by and the sheriffs get trained by. And he said to me, well, if they don't call and ask. Matter of fact, he was actually saying to me, because what did I call for? I called to find out if the state training system had the rights over the constables outside of the judicial system. Because understand, the constables in Pennsylvania do not belong to the judicial system. So for people to say constables work for the court, no, they don't. We work with the court. We don't work for the court. And that's where that term independent contractor comes in. We are related staff to the court system, just like the sheriff. The sheriff is under the executive branch as well, but county dollars pay for him. At the same time, county dollars may be paying for him. The state sets up how much the sheriff is allowed to be paid. So that says that the executive branch still holds some authority with regards to the sheriff. Okay? But who is also under the state? The district attorneys. The district attorney is also under the executive branch, but county dollars pay for him. And at the same time, the state sets the amount he or she can get paid. Now, you know, how people want to single out the constabulary is beyond me. Well, actually, no, I'm not going to say that. You got guys purposefully throwing out the constable title. Guys that are wearing the constable uniform are lying to people. And the Pennsylvania State Troopers have also jumped in to join the lies, to be told. The district attorneys also jumped on to join the lies, to be told. Municipal police departments jumped on board to join the lies, to be told. And then now you have constables running across citizens almost every other week. Citizens trying to tell a constable what they can and cannot do. Have absolutely no clue what they're talking about because they've been misled. And now we have a federal case law that came out called the Galouse versus Miller case. It's a federal case where a female went into a drive-in movie theater to assault a manager at the drive-in movie theater, and a constable was present. The constable identified himself and warned the female that she could be arrested for disorderly conduct if she persisted on doing what she was doing. She didn't think he had the authority because he was a constable, and moved to do what she wanted to do. She got arrested. She fought it all the way up to the court because she didn't think he was a police officer. She didn't think the constable had the authority. And she lost. It's federal case law. The federal courts researched and cited various statutes and case law for the Commonwealth. And then they drew their conclusion, which stated the Pennsylvania State Constable is a police officer. And the woman failed in her attempt. I myself made an apprehension upon a DUI. The guy attorney, the first thing he wanted to fight, and the only thing he really wanted to fight pretty much, was the constable's authority. His attorney thought that the constable didn't have any authority to make an arrest that wasn't upon a warrant. And he failed to look at the laws and honor the laws. So he just really didn't actually read. He didn't think there was any laws supporting the constabulary in making such an apprehension. And that was the first thing he desired to do. What did I do? Because I knew that the district attorney's office of Lehigh County needed to be educated so that they would be confident in going into that case. I went in there and educated the district attorney's office of Lehigh County. And the district attorney's office went to bat against the defendant's legal team, and the first thing he tried to argue, and really the only thing he tried to argue, was the constable's authority. And the assistant district attorney was boned up on the laws because I brought it to them directly. educated them on the laws, and then she asked, okay, what happened? After I educated the district attorney, the assistant district attorney, I was able to give my story, my statement to her. And she found it honorable. And then I provided evidence, video footage of the situation in its totality. And she found that what I stated to her matched in the video and upon the laws of the state supporting the constable to make a DUI detention, a public drunkenness detention. She felt confident going into that case. And guess what? We won. You know, this is what the state, which is PCCD, the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency, is out there lying to constables right now, telling constables and deputy constables, new guys, that they can't do. This is what they're lying to them, telling them they cannot do this stuff. And it not only strips the citizens of a true peace officer, you know, it openly disrespects the legacy of the beginning of law enforcement here in the U.S. The constabulary is the beginning of law enforcement in the U.S. It is. No other system of law enforcement comes before the constabulary. That is just what it is. You know, so this is my warning to the people. You know, don't go out there with your opinions on things you have absolutely no clue about. Do your own research. I provide enough information on my civilian page on Facebook and on my YouTube channel because it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. You got these agencies out there willfully telling citizens that the constabulary has no authority. They're not nothing. They're nobodies. And then when you challenge these guys, they're in such disbelief that they'll make up any little thing that sounds utterly ridiculous. They're willing to sound ridiculous in their statements rather than bow down to what the law actually says. I personally have had many on-view detentions. Now, the Allentown police don't know that I pay attention greatly to them when it comes down to their interactions with me. I've had many conversations with them in terms of me educating them or forcing them to respect the agency. when they want to have a bug or chip on their shoulder. My first DUI arrest or detention, this Allentown officer came responding as I called it in to do for them to conduct their investigation and do a field sobriety test. The guy failed and he got arrested by the Allentown police. He was detained by me and got arrested by the Allentown police, okay? Now, because, understand, it doesn't matter if a constable is not the one filing the charge. That doesn't say the constable is not a police officer. You know, the authority of the constable to file charges are there. There's just systems in play right now that wants to undermine the constabulary and the authority the constabulary has always had to follow through with their own charges upon their own detentions and make their own arrests. The laws are still in the constable's favor. You know, but there's such a heavy system of politics that gets in the way of the constable being able to access those other abilities. So what were we left with doing? We're left with making detentions so another agency can come, investigate, and follow through with the charges. And then what we do, we come to court and testify to the detention and the agency's actions. That's how we have to do it until the politics work its way out and we do what we have to do in order to change the way things have been for the last 20 to 30 years plus. I'm trying to give guys a raw peek into what's been going on. I don't need people coming on this channel talking about you some wannabe cop or whatever when I drop laws allowing these people to know that a constable is in fact the original cop. There's no municipal police officer that comes before the constable. There's no trooper that comes before the constable. There's no sheriff that comes before the constable. There's no town marshal that comes before the constable. No one comes before the constable. No one. This is the history. We have 50 states. Just about every state has the constable office there. Has the constable office there. If the constable office no longer exists and was discontinued, you look beyond the history, beyond the time that they were discontinued, and you will see that they were there, and you will also see the history within the municipal agencies coming from the constabulary, where the municipal agencies pick up the authority and duties of the constabulary, and now you have police officers out there from these departments, but they won't tell the history of the constabulary and the existence of the system. They won't tell the history. Everybody wants to just simply write out the constables in their history. Why? I have the slightest idea. I don't know. I really don't know. But understand, in Pennsylvania, I want the citizens to know that the constable's office, original and first and foremost job and role, is the protection of the citizens. The work for the judicial system that everyone knows the constable to perform in Pennsylvania is optional to the constabulary. It is not the bona fide job of the office. Constables out there give you an idea that that's what their job is, and it's really not. That's what they choose to allow their office to perform in. There is no tax dollars that goes directly to the constable's office and basically forces them into that system. It's their choice to operate in that system. The first job of the constabulary is the protection of the citizens. The voters vote for the constabulary no different than they vote for the sheriff. It's the same. They run a campaign, the constables run a campaign. Same system. The sheriff got deputies, the constables has deputies. Not every constable has deputies, but they have the ability to have deputies. So therefore, it doesn't matter if they have them or not. They're on the same level as the sheriff when it comes down to that. But the constabulary has more authority than the sheriff's department. The sheriffs are not state, regardless of the fact that they are under the executive branch. The sheriff's a county because they're paid by the counties. So I want the people to understand. I'm trying to reach out to the citizens and make sure that the citizens have a clearer idea on what the constable is. Do not allow people in a trooper's uniform or a municipal police officer's uniform or a sheriff's officer's uniform to mislead you. They do not speak for the constabulary. And if a constable from this agency is not speaking in the manner that I'm speaking, they're lying to you. They're lying to you because I'm a living testimony. I made on view detentions that the state don't want constables to be knowledgeable about in terms of their authority. They want constables to believe that they can only make an on-view arrest if they have court documents in their hands. And that doesn't make any sense because the constabulary do not owe any allegiance to the judges or judicial system as a whole. The constables owe their allegiance to the citizens, the voters, and only them. This idea that someone said constables can't patrol, are you kidding me? They are elected to patrol, to be their citizens' peace officer. They are there to be in the community and be a part of their community, to be the peace officer, to be a leader for their community as a law enforcement officer. That's what they're elected to do. They're not elected to serve the judicial system. That's just a way for them to garner any type of funding to help support their agency and the operations of the agency. The constabulary is the only law enforcement system in Pennsylvania that does not wholeheartedly garner any wage from the tax dollars. The only area of the constable office that has the ability to develop tax funding upon salary is the high constable of a borough. The high constable of a borough is a tax-paid position. But the other constables in the wards of cities, townships, or the constables of a borough ward, they don't have the ability to garner tax dollars wholeheartedly. When I say wholeheartedly, I mean outside of a judge sentencing someone that a constable brought in on a warrant or from a transport. If a judge sentenced someone and a constable is forced to transport this person off to jail or whatnot, at that point, the constable may be receiving tax funding upon the sentencing by the judicial system. Ask me how many times that happens. I can't tell you. Never happened for me. Outside of that, everything is fee-based and per job. It's not salary-based. If the constables don't perform the function, the constables don't get paid. That's just what it is. That's the way the state set it up. There's nothing we could do about that. There's nothing we could do about that. You know, you got guys out there that sit and try to hold that over our heads like we had some type of say over that. That's the way the lawmakers made it up. You know, I mean, what do you want me to do? What do you want the constables to do? What do you want the guys to do? Complain that they don't get a salary like the rest of the guys? Understand the history of the agency when it comes down to why we don't get tax funding. The citizens of the medieval time era wanted a system that was rid of taxpayers' funding because they wanted a peace officer that would be incorruptible of government. Incorruptible. Well, their idea was noble. I get it. I understand. But they became corrupt anyway. I just want you people to understand here. I am trying to save the masses of the people from thinking that constables aren't what the law says they are. That will get you hurt. A guy got arrested by me because he thought that my cruiser was a security cruiser, a security vehicle. Even though nothing on the vehicle said security. Many people, when they see the word constable, if they don't see the word police attached, And even that's a stretch. Many people have this idea that the word constable doesn't hold any significant authority. So that's not their own thinking. That has been imposed on them by wrongful information being projected by the Pennsylvania State Police, municipal agencies, including the Pennsylvania State Constabulary, members of the Pennsylvania State Constabulary. And there's also sheriff's offices out there that are giving off bad information. Everybody seemed to be able to control the narrative of the constables, but the constables. Well, actually, there are constables controlling the narrative. They're lying to the people the same way those other guys are. So why wouldn't the citizens believe them when they're saying these things while wearing the uniform? It only makes sense. I mean, but imagine a trooper saying, I can't make a traffic stop while wearing his uniform. A lot of the people would think he's crazy or something changed, like the laws changed or something. No. What if the laws never changed? What if the trooper just openly said out of his mouth he can't make traffic stops? What would you say? What would you guys think? And then what if you had multiple troopers, like a fleet of guys from one barracks, said the same thing? You would think they were jiving you, man. You would think they were lying to you. Still, even if it's coming out of their own mouth, you wouldn't believe them. But if a constable tells the people, yeah, or he has the authority of arrest, or we have the authority of arrest, yes, can you, like I got multiple people say, if I do something right now, could you arrest me for it? Like if I hit someone right now, could you arrest me for it? And I would say, yes, I can. That's the job of the constable. To arrest people for a breach of the peace or a violation of the law. Like, constables are peace officers and law enforcement. I mean, it's just what it is. I mean, you can't stress this enough. There's too much law identifying this. It's too much. I've given you guys so much. I've allowed you guys to see me working with other agencies, including the Pennsylvania State Troopers. It's my body cam. I've shown you enough to know. And then you still got guys out there calling me a wannabe cop. Like, are you, like, what? All I can say is, man, wake up. Wake up. Because enough people already found out the wrong way. The guy that thought that my vehicle was a security vehicle got arrested by me. What was my probable cause? It was drugs he was doing in front of me. He was doing drugs in front of me in his cruiser. I mean, in his vehicle. And I got backed up by local law enforcement, and local law enforcement backed my play. And you know, that was the guy's wake-up call that I wasn't a security officer. When he saw the local police backing my play, honoring my shield. You don't want guys out there trying to prove a point because you are just unwilling to listen and take heed to the message that I'm trying to give. Don't, I will say this to you people. If they're not wearing a constable uniform, don't listen to them. And if they are wearing a constable uniform and they're not talking like I am right now, don't listen to them. If a municipal police officer or a Pennsylvania state trooper or a deputy sheriff is not talking the way I'm talking right now in regards to the constable's power, please don't listen to them. Because we have people that did, and they got the raw end of the stick. And those people that told them the lies will not come to court and testify that they led these people astray. So I am trying to warn you people. I'm telling you that I, former Constable Stephen Wiggs, have made arrests, have made detainments. Now, I just want to leave with this note in regards to the constable's status. You know, there are constables out there that write citations and argue them just like any municipal police officer. Constables write non-traffic citations currently in Pennsylvania. Constables do not write traffic citations. But there's this misconception that many people in the law enforcement community continuously throw around, and got the citizens doing the same thing. They would say, "You're not a police officer, you can't pull me over for a traffic violation or whatever." I'm like, you say that like there's nothing else that relates to a police officer, like serving warrants of arrest. Under Pennsylvania law, only police officers can serve warrants. Rule 515 of the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. Rule 515 tells you only a police officer can serve warrants. So if you see constables doing that majority of the time, what the hell do you think a constable is? Don't play yourself like that. Now, constables writing citations for non-traffic issues. It's a big deal. These are ordinance violations. These are the laws of the land. You act like a lot of people act like this is not what most of the chatter on a radio. If you're listening to a police scanner, most times they're dealing with non-traffic issues. Noise complaints, all that stuff that people can actually complain about. Constables are actually vested with the lawful ability to write those citations. And they do. Not all agencies of the constabulary that gets involved, but there are some out there. You just won't know which one is going to adopt the lawful abilities to do it. Just know that every office of the constabulary in Pennsylvania has the same authority as the other. So if one borough of the constabulary don't do it in terms of writing citations and the other one does, that doesn't mean that the borough that don't do it can't turn around the very next day and say, we're going to do it. Oh, I want you people to wake up, because this is a life or death situation People can be out there and have this idea that constables aren't police officers, and then you go and try to fight this officer because you were misled by other agencies, including the constable's office, putting officers and citizens in danger. This has to stop now. This has to stop. I greatly appreciate your time. This is former Officer Wiggs with the Pennsylvania State Constabulary of the 16th Ward, Allentown, Pennsylvania. I hope and pray that each and every last one of you people do not take this information lightly. Thank you for your time. Good evening.